Welcome, friends. I'm Lori Lines of Higher Self Access, QHHT Level 3 Practitioner, Board Certified Clinical Hypnotist, Intuitive and Inspirational Medium. Welcome to my vlog. Are we powerful creators or victims? I believe it's a choice. Part 1. They say, when we dream of a home, all that transpires is a reflection of how we view our own inner experience. Moving ahead with this perspective, let's explore the blueprints. The lower self is much like an unfinished basement. We store things like fear, anger, heartache, all our emotional childhood experiences. And this lower aspect of self is highly reactionary and defensive, acting as a victimized, entitled, dependent, controlling, or otherwise maladaptive function for our behavior. We are accountable for renovating our energetic basement during this lifetime, clearing out baggage and inviting in the light. The main floor of this house represents the ego self. It is the part of us that people encounter. We decorate it and keep it presentation ready. Why? Because we don't want to be judged for having the poor taste or even being untidy. The ego is built upon and empowered by judgment. The primary ego needs are meeting external and internal expectations and being deemed more than others, more attractive, more intelligent, more successful, more compassionate, or more spiritual. Lastly, envision a refuge at the top of the house, but no ordinary attic. This is a sky loft with a beautiful skylight, filling it with illumination and a fresh breeze that always stirs, keeping the air pure and clean. It is a retreat you don't get to visit as often as you would like because you are busy keeping up appearances on the main floor. When you do visit, you are replenished and renewed. Now, ask yourself, even if this loft is the most blissful yet least accessed part of your home, is it any less a part of the structure? The idea highlighted here is that the higher self, while expansive, pure, harmonious, and possessing profundity beyond description, is still a part of you, commingling for better or for worse with the lower self and ego. One of our primary undertakings this lifetime is to minimize the influence of the lower self, denying it control of the ego, designating power instead to the higher self, and teaching the ego to surrender to it. When this does not happen, the defensive, wounded lower self and the critical ego can lead us to assume the mantle of victimhood and helplessness. You see, the lower self assumes the role of defending the ego from being re-wounded. Fearful, the lower self tells the ego that threats are around every corner. Being humiliated, taken advantage of, or hurt is not a potentiality. It is a certainty. Thus the ego throws its hands up in the air, too afraid to take responsibility for its inevitable demise, going through life hopeless, helpless, and apathetic. There are also societal forces that take advantage of these listless souls. They are being ushered into the ignorant masses who are too disinterested to call out the systemic facades and powerless to effectuate any real change. The matrix is thereby upheld by unconscious victims and those who fear accountability. These people are still imprisoned by the dank, dark basement of the lower self. When we awaken to the truth that we can at once be the lower self, ego, and higher self, we can no longer remain ignorant to the facts about our society and our divine sovereignty. We must assume responsibility for reparenting the lower self, forfeiting egoic power, and accepting the omnipotence of the higher self, breaking free of systemic fallacies. The seemingly trite adage, "with great power comes great responsibility," takes on weighty significance when you begin to recognize your role as a creator. Although the lower self, ego, and higher self comprise one being, victim and creator cannot. You cannot simultaneously create the personhood, experience, and outcomes you desire and remain a victim to them. Unfortunately, some people are afraid to surrender the mantle of victimhood because they fear the accountability of creator is too much to bear. They are more comfortable viewing themselves as other to the higher self, because the divine authority to protect, guide, heal, and manifest becomes their own. The truth is, while being a creator is a weighty undertaking, victimhood is more than a burden. It is a form of death, smothering life force and entombing your infinite potential. We can all benefit from looking at divine sovereignty as coming with a price that is far outweighed by its worth. Ultimately, it may be time to revamp the adage and instead declare, "With great responsibility comes great power." In the next part of this series, I'll be discussing the infinite nature of our creator power as multidimensional beings. Thank you for listening to this vlog, and I wish you love and truth. I am Lori Lines.